The next question is from Terry in Wolverine Lake. And they say, we live on a lake and our septic field is old and now needs to be replaced. We bought the home over 18 months ago and the former owner said that the septic field was in good working order. Do we have a case against him as the replacement is going to cost us thousands of dollars? That one's pretty clear. Not a lot.
Okay. Well, I think so.
Yeah.
But again, what does the seller's disclosure say, number one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The person who asked the question, the buyer, said that we live on an old, we have an old septic field.
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere they knew that it was old. The question again, these are all beg more questions, but here, I'm not going to give you, waffle around. Generally speaking, no, you don't have a case against the seller. If the seller has a disclosure that says, this is, in good working order, and they believe that, then there's nothing there, to go after the seller again.
Sure.
Unless we can find some type of fraud or whatever, that they're trying to hide something. However, when you're buying a house, again, I don't know where realtors are at, but if you're buying a house, or mortgage brokers, for that matter, and that is, if you're buying a house, if you're getting financing, you're going to have a well and septic inspection. Most banks will require that right there. Most likely that's how that buyer knew that they had an old septic field.
Right.
They just didn't know when it was going to be needed to be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's the other thing. Let's pretend for a minute that somehow the seller's liable. If you knew that you had an old septic field, how many years are you able to get paid for or reimbursed for if you already knew that you had an old septic field? If there was 1 year left on the utility of that septic field, would you get 1 year's value of that septic field?
Sure.
You see how you cut, that, again, that's something that sounds like the people did not do either their due diligence. You can look at a house, and you can look at the age of the home, Blair.
Right.
And you're out looking at properties every day. You look at the home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez, this home was built in the 50s. How many times, if it's on a septic field, how many, times have they had to replace it? You would investigate that.
Sure.
I'm assuming that they had a realtor. I assume, doesn't,
Sure.
if it's, there's too many questions. Again, here's the law. I'll just give you the law. I know I feel like I've given these fuzzy answers all night.
No, let's get to the law.
The law
Get down
is,
to it.
when it comes to a seller's disclosure, the seller has to give a good faith accounting as to the condition of the property from their knowledge. They're not required to investigate something that they're not aware of. They're not held to a standard of being a contractor. They only have to tell the truth as to what they know about the property. If they didn't have it, let's say they lived there for 50 years and they never cleaned out their septic field, which would be very unusual, but you never know. And it required it, right? It was awful, but they just never knew. They just lived their lives and never did anything about it.
Sure.
And they say, well, we've never had a problem.
Very
it's
cavalier
a good order. That's fair enough. It's up to the seller then to go, the buyer to go, wait a minute, you've never had this thing cleaned out? Now they're it's implied that they should have knowledge and that they should have investigated.
Right. Yep.
Some really weird questions, right?
They're all over the map, but that's good. That's good. We're touching a lot of people here because you never know. You never know what's going to be relevant. Yeah. And my comment on